Step into the shadows for a second and just look around at how humanity operates today. We've completely hijacked a very specific, very powerful word, and honestly, we've twisted it to mean whatever makes us comfortable. That word is good. Well, today, we are tearing down that illusion. In this explainer, we're diving deep to uncover the source material's prophetic verdict on the true Hebraic and scriptural nature of what it actually means to be good. I want to hit you with a really piercing question right out of the gate here. What if your entire definition of good is fundamentally disastrously wrong? See, humanity operates under this grand illusion that good is just some subjective feel-good emotion. We say things like, oh, I'm a good person, or that was a good deed, based entirely on our own internal flawed compass. But what if that compass is completely broken? What if good isn't a feeling at all, but an absolute, unyielding standard that exists entirely outside of human perception? The sources present a really stark contrast here. On one side, you have subjective human good. It's fragile, it morphs with culture, with time, with whatever your personal preference happens to be today. On the other side, we have Elohim's objective good. The scriptural texts make it absolutely crystal clear. True goodness isn't determined by human perception at all. It is determined strictly by the objective standard from above. Nothing is good except that which is of Elohim. If it doesn't perfectly align with his standard, well, it simply isn't good. This leads us straight to the primary evidence in Matthew 19. A young man comes up to Yeshua and calls him good teacher. Now, Yeshua immediately stops him and redirects that definition straight to the ultimate authority. He says, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except one, Elohim." Now, Yeshua wasn't denying his own righteousness here. He was establishing the baseline definition. The text argues he was basically saying, don't call me good unless you fully understand that my goodness is entirely derived from functioning exactly like the Creator. That brings us to Section 1, functioning as designed. The source material drops an absolute, uncompromising paradigm shift on us here. Good is not a moral feeling, it is flawless, functional design. Elohim's definition of good is when something performs or functions exactly as originally designed and intended by him, period. When a piece of creation operates perfectly within its designed parameters, that's when it receives the verdict, it is good. Let's break down the Genesis timeline like detectives at a crime scene. On day 1, light functions. He says it is good. Days 3 through 6, the plants, the stars, the animals, they all begin functioning as intended, and he says it is good. But pay close attention to days 2 and 7. On day 2, he separates the waters, creating physical space. On day 7, he creates the Sabbath, a space in time. Notice what's happening. He is creating space for things to happen. The verdict of good is pronounced only when creation actually functions within that designed space. Let's move into Section 2, the objective standard. So, if good literally means functioning as designed, how do human beings even know what their functional design actually is? Look, we have to completely strip away centuries of religious jargon that paints the law, the Torah, as some heavy, outdated burden. The source material frames it entirely differently. The Torah is the manufacturer's objective operational manual for humanity. It is the absolute standard of truth. If you want to know exactly how to function perfectly in the system designed by the Creator, you follow his instructions. It is the objective standard of what is right and wrong, totally bypassing human opinion. The hard evidence for this is right there in Deuteronomy 10. To guard the commands of Yahweh and his laws, which I command you today for your good. The text explicitly states that these instructions were coded to benefit humanity's function. The Creator is telling us, look, these rules are how you operate at peak design. They are literally for your good. It's not some arbitrary set of religious hurdles. It is the ultimate blueprint for your survival and for thriving. Which brings us to redefining another heavily hijacked word, righteousness. True righteousness is actionable, functional obedience. It is doing what is right in the eyes of Elohim by submitting to his instructions. It's not a passive, abstract belief. It's not just something you feel in your heart. It is the physical, real-world manifestation of obedience to the manufacturer's manual. This leads us right into Section 3, the living embodiment. Let's pin this first piece of evidence to the board. Psalm 119, verse 160. The entirety of your word is truth. The sources establish a direct, completely unbreakable link here. The written word, the Torah, is established as the ultimate truth. It is the objective, unchanging standard of the Creator himself. Now, let's use some cold, hard, syllogistic logic to tie the source's argument together. Follow me on this. The Word is truth. The Torah is truth. The Scriptures definitively state Yeshua is the Word made flesh. Therefore, the inescapable, absolute conclusion is that Yeshua is the walking, talking, living Torah. The written instruction and the living Messiah are the exact same standard. They literally cannot contradict each other because they are the exact same entity, just in different forms. John 1:14 gives us the fulfillment of that logic. The Word became flesh and pitched his tent among us. The sources argue powerfully here that Yeshua did not come to replace the law or to do away with the manual, not at all. He came as the perfect, breathing manifestation of complete Torah observance. He is exactly what it looks like when a human being functions flawlessly according to the manufacturer's design. The sources also point out a really stark contrast when looking at Paul's letters, clearly delineating two distinct laws. The law of sin and death is the subjective, corrupt nature of the flesh that inherently always leads to destruction. But in contrast, the law of the Spirit is the Torah itself, the objective standard that leads to life. To actually live by the Spirit means you have to put to death the chaotic deeds of the flesh and completely align with the perfect functional design of the Torah. And that brings us to section 4, the final verdict. The sources outline 3 indisputable purposes of following this operational manual, the Torah. Step 1, it blesses you. Step 2, it keeps you safe. Step 3, it completely transforms you into his image. This right here is the procedural path to becoming a reflection of the Messiah. It's a complete, total makeover of your functional design, transforming you from a creature ruled by subjective, chaotic feelings into a functional, objective reflection of the Creator. But listen, this requires total commitment. To actually be called a trustworthy servant demands strict, non-negotiable requirements. You must become a doer of the work, not just somebody who hears it. You have to cultivate a readiness to obey, and that means absolute vertical trust, without arguing or debating with the instructions. And you must act without partiality or hypocrisy. True service demands action and total, uncompromising submission. So, I have to confront you directly on this. Are you ready to obey the objective truth, or are you still subject to the illusion? Look, there is a terrifying gap between simply hearing the truth and actually surviving by it. Information alone isn't going to save you. You actually have to step out of the illusion of your own subjective feelings and actively start operating within the strict parameters of Elohim's objective, functional design. We're wrapping up this explainer with a lingering, highly provocative challenge. When the time comes and you stand before the ultimate authority, will you be judged as a good and trustworthy servant? Will you be recognized as someone who functioned exactly as originally designed, completely obedient to the manufacturer's manual? Take a really hard look at your life right now and ask yourself, are you truly good, or are you just playing the part in a world of illusions? Think about that.